General Hospital recaps for Wednesday, July 2nd include Gio Palmieri's threat to drop out, while Jocelyn Jacks reveals her actual goals as a WSB agent. Jen Sidwell also frames Selena Wu for the Charlie's pub burning and compels her to leave town. Gio threatens to drop out. Gio meets Emma Scorpio Drake at the coffee shop and expresses his displeasure that the dog they discovered at the baseball game keeps stealing his sneakers. She wonders if he's angry at Dante Falconeri and Brooklyn Quartermain, or at the puppy she's named Outback. He admits that he is upset about it, but is unable to communicate his sentiments, and he apologizes for being negative. She assures him that he is just the perfect amount of downer, and he reveals that he has decided to quit PCU. He has no ambitions to play the violin again, and is currently enrolled on a music scholarship. General Hospital recap Wednesday, July 2nd. Sunny vows revenge, Sidwell frames Selena. Emma encourages Gio not to make a quick decision. She suggests that he wait for the dust to settle, but he claims that all of his happy memories of music have been corrupted. Without the love for it, the music is hollow. It's just another thing his family has taken from him. She offers to help him discover his interests, including stopping Professor Henry Dalton. She is appalled that someone would experiment on such cute canines as Outback. Emma suggests that drastic measures may be required. He feels this indicates something unlawful, but he is willing to do anything for a good cause. Jocelyn makes an admission. Vaughn discovers Joss outside Charlie's while the fire crew is clearing up. She admits that she can't leave the situation. She is concerned that Christina Corinthos Davis almost lost her life solely because she is Sonny Corinthos' daughter. They talk about Morgan Corinthos dying and Michael getting burned. Vaughn assumes she doesn't like her former stepfather. She has attempted to overcome her rage, but she has little sympathy for him, revealing that this is one of the reasons she joined the WSB intends to bring him down. She is concerned that confessing this will get her fired, but he assures her that it is the contrary. Once he knows her better, he will explain why he joined. They kiss. Sidwell blames Selena for the Charlie's pub arson. Sidwell invites Selena to Windmere and informs her that she is about to go to battle with Sonny. She insists on working hard to be on Sonny's good side. He claims to know for certain that two of her pals set fire to Charlie's. The fire will be traced back to her. She feels he set her up and threatens to tell Sonny the truth. He doubts Sonny will let her live long enough for that, and he implies that he has planted additional evidence of her complicity. Sidwell forces Selena to leave town for a while. Sidwell has clearly driven Selena into a corner, or she would not give in so easily, she assumed. He wanted to discuss reinvigorating the high-stakes poker game she runs. Sidwell warns her that unless she wants a conflict with Sonny, the only choice for her is to leave town temporarily. He informs her that she can return with his permission after Port Charles has altered dramatically. This means Sonny will be out of the picture, and she appears to acquiesce willingly. She leaves to catch a flight, and he bids her safe travels. Alexis and Molly visit Christina at the hospital. Christina wants to leave her hospital bed, but her mother won't let her. She describes what happened before the fire and notes the smell of gas. The fire extinguisher was ineffective, and Marco Rios saved her life. Alexis Davis claims she would have hurt her father if she had died. Christina points out that they don't know if it's her father's fault. Molly Lansing Davis enters, and Alexis slips out to handle paperwork. The sisters talk about how Marco protected her, and Molly admires Christina for not arguing with their mother over Sonny that night. Christina says that even if she had been collateral damage, she would not blame her father accountable. The sisters discuss their mother's fear and missing Sam McCall. She thinks their mother is worried because it hasn't been long since Cyrus Renaud killed their older sister. At that point, Alexis returns to the hospital room, glad to see them together. They all wish Sam McCall was present, but Alexis reminds them that they must survive her. This is the first time Alexis has had to pay a visit to a hospitalized daughter, since Sam died of digitalis poisoning after successfully donating part of her liver to Lulu Spencer. It's no surprise that she's dealing with PTSD and is concerned about Christina. General Hospital recap Wednesday, July 2nd. Sonny vows revenge, Sidwell frames Selena, Marco weeps for his mother. Marco is by Natalia Ramirez's body, holding her hand and crying. He understands they had problems, but he never expected it to end this way. Cass Jones sits at the nurse's station, unsure what to do. Elizabeth Baldwin tells him to let Marco to have time alone with his mother. Anna Devane comes and Marco steps outside. Isaiah Gannon informs him that doctors were unable to restart Natalia's heart when she arrived. This appears to be an overdose. They will not know anything until the autopsy is completed. Marco discusses saving Christina from the fire. Marco tells them that he was driving by Charlie's when he discovered it was on fire. Anna calls him a hero for saving Christina. Marco responds that he was unable to save his mother. He adds that he was on his way to see her after getting some inebriated texts. Lucas assures him that this is not his fault. Anna emphasizes that Justine Turner, the ADA, instructed her to collect his mother after she was seen chatting with Sonny and seeming troubled. Marco promptly suggests that Corinthos murdered his mother because she had incriminating evidence against him. Lucas advises him to take a moment, and Anna offers her condolences before departing with Harrison Chase. Sidwell arrives at the hospital following Lucas' call. Marco thanks Lucas for intervening and recommends that Gannon study Marco, while he contacts Sidwell on his behalf. He calls Sidwell to inform him of Natalia's death and that Marco is currently in the hospital. Sidwell rushes to see his son. Marco is confused how to convey the news to his sister. He wishes the circumstances were different. His father assures him that he could not have predicted this. Marco describes the fire event and how he saved Christina. His father begins to shake as Marco admits that Sonny is responsible for Natalia's death. Meanwhile, Lucas and Liz step aside to discuss the likelihood of Natalia's murder. Lucas remarks that this resembles a mob battle, with his family on one side and Marco's on the other. Sonny blames Sidwell for the fire, so Anna has to bring him in. At home, Sonny informs Jason that they are aware Sidwell is responsible for the fire, and he believes Michael's assault in his penthouse bombing was also caused by Sidwell. If anything happened to Christina, he has no idea what he would do. Christina is the child who most like him. Jason reveals that they have someone monitoring her room, and Sonny is determined to soon discover the perpetrator. He intends to inflict such suffering that they will never consider targeting them again. Jason tells him that this could mean assaulting Marco, who had just rescued Christina. So be it. Sonny responds, calling Marco collateral damage. Anna comes and confirms Natalia's death. He asks why she is giving this news in person. She explains that one of his bodyguards entered her room and left when the police came. He is now a subject of interest. General Hospital recap Wednesday, July 2nd. Sonny vows revenge, Sidwell frames Selena. Brooke Lynn and Tracy discuss financial irregularities in the Deception Cosmetics account. Brooke Lynn Quartermaine Chase advises Tracy Quartermaine that deception is in significant peril, and that it may be too late to save the situation. She notes that some of Sonny's investments appeared suspicious, which doesn't surprise Tracy, but Brooke Lynn claims it was only a clerical error. Her grandma reminds her that it's also illegal. If this information spills, deception will be over. Brooke Lynn says they need to hide it as completely as possible, while Tracy proposes they use it to their advantage. She believes they should be honest with the DA and assist in the case against Sonny. She is scared that separating Sonny from Gio will make her son detest her even more. Tracy promises to handle everything herself. Chase arrives, alerting them of Charlie's and Natalia's deaths due to a fire. Selena Wu never made empty promises, and when she did, she followed through with precision. For months, she had tightened her grip on Port Charles's underground operations, deftly integrating herself into the city's power structure. She respected Sonny Corinthos' domain but never frightened him. Now that quiet respect had transformed into aggressive tension, and Sonny had finally hit his limit. Sidwell, a name just recently whispered in the city's darkest recesses, was quickly acquiring power. With a sharp sense of manipulation and no loyalty to anyone, he saw opportunity in chaos. Selena's kingdom, while well-maintained, had flaws, which Sidwell saw fit to exploit. But what set the issue off was Sidwell's subtle twist. He didn't just seek control. He sought to bring down both Selena and Sonny in one fell swoop, accusing Selena with the attack that nearly killed Sonny's main enforcer. It began with a surprise hit. Brick had been tracking a new shipment, which Sonny suspected had ties to pikemen. They were attempting to determine which intermediaries were involved, when the car bomb exploded minutes after Brick stepped away. He almost survived. The harm was done both literally and mentally. Sonny, who saw Brick as a brother rather than an employee, grew chilly. His instincts screamed betrayal, But all he heard was Selena Wu's name. Dante attempted to be the voice of reason. Dad, Selena is smart, but this does not feel like her style. Was this a hit? It was a mess. Public. Selena works quietly. But Sunny had witnessed far too many betrayals to disregard warning indications. If she wanted to send a message, she knew exactly who to hurt. Michael, who had been trying to stay out of Sunny's business lately, watched warily from a distance. He remembered what vengeance had done to his father, how driven Sunny had become after Carly had been targeted years before. And now, as Sunny prepared to lash out again, Michael was concerned that nothing, not even the truth, would deter him. The truth, as usual, was more complicated. Sidwell had created such a convincing trail that even Selena began to wonder if someone on her own crew had betrayed her. Ledger sheets were manipulated, burner phones were linked to her storage sites, and encrypted conversations were diverted to give the impression she had ordered the hit. Selena's calm exterior began to fracture in private. She summoned her most trustworthy lieutenants and instructed them to dig deeply and quickly. Meanwhile, Sunny's storm brewed. He didn't start a direct conflict right away, but his presence became stronger in each place he entered. Clubs that paid tribute to Selena began receiving modest visits. Security cameras inexplicably failed, and her goods were delayed or diverted. It was a creeping chokehold, impossible to trace back to Sunny, but everyone in the company felt it. Selena knew better than to play the victim. She retaliated utilizing her connections with the mayor's office and a few rich benefactors to put pressure on Sunny's legitimate enterprises. Permissions were assessed. Zoning inspections increased. She wasn't going to go down quietly. But beneath it all, Sidwell acted like a puppeteer. He had given lies to both sides, knowing that their arrogance would blind them. The more Sunny got into retaliation, the more likely he was to overlook contradictions in the evidence. Selena, facing bankruptcy, would eventually act out of desperation, which is exactly what Sidwell desired. Jocelyn, who was always wary of her uncle's opponents, started investigating the attack on her own. Her instincts did not align with the prevalent narrative. She'd been around Sunny and Selena long enough to recognize the signals. When she came upon a piece of security footage from the night of the explosion, a figure loitering near the van who wasn't one of Selena's people, she immediately presented it to Dex. Dex, who had been on the outside of Sunny's inner group since Jason's return, paused. Sharing the footage with Sunny could turn the tide, but only if he was willing to listen. The problem was that he wasn't. He'd grown colder, more calculated, and less inclined to trust anyone. Sunny needs to see this, Jocelyn argued. You know he values proof. Give him that, and perhaps he'll back off Selena before it's too late. Dex nodded, but he understood what was at stake. If Sunny believed he was being controlled, it may lead to a more serious conflict rather than prevent it. Meanwhile, Selena requested a favor from an old acquaintance in Singapore, an intelligence broker who specialized in counter-surveillance. Within days, the broker returned with devastating evidence. The phone records used to set her up came from a hotel Sidwell had visited weeks earlier. More importantly, an audio sample from an intercepted call resembled Sidwell's voice, albeit not completely. Now Selena possessed her own weapon. Instead of coming to Sunny, she opted to confront Sidwell herself. She discovered him in a private club, drinking whiskey and entertaining a small group of investors. She glided calmly into the booth across from him, her characteristic cold grace intact. You made a mistake, she replied. You played the wrong game. Sidwell laughed at her. No, Selena. I played the one game that ended with me victorious. What followed was not a threat, but rather a warning. Selena agreed to demolish him piece by piece. He smirked, daring her to attempt, unknowing that she had already forwarded his voice prints and call data to Dante. Across town, Sunny was eventually shown the footage that Jocelyn discovered. As he bent over the pixelated image of the unknown stranger, his eyes narrowed. That's not one of hers, Dex replied quietly. Sunny did not speak right away. He was digesting, going over every previous betrayal, every time someone used smoke and mirrors to turn him against a friend. The wrath he had built up against Selena faded, replaced by something even darker, a feeling that he had almost been used. That person had made him question his own instincts. He met with Dante the following day. When Dante gave him the voice analysis from Selena's contact, something snapped. Sidwell had orchestrated everything. Sonny was humiliated, not just outraged. "If you ever play me like this again," Sonny murmured under his breath, "you will not live to regret it." The wheels rotated fast. Sonny did not tell Selena he knew the truth. Instead, he spread the rumor that he was backing off, that the war had ended. Selena did the same. To the outside world, the heat had subsided. The strain eased. But, in secret, they both started working together. Selena granted Sonny access to Sidwell's last contacts in the city. Sonny, in exchange, gave her permission to tidy her own house. What followed was a quiet massacre. Business rivals vanished, bank accounts were stopped, and Sidwell's businesses collapsed in under a week. Sidwell attempted to run but never made it out of New York State. Sonny's guys apprehended him at a private airplane hangar. Selena was also there. "You wanted to burn us both down," she explained. "But you underestimated the bonds we've built." Sidwell sneered. "Stubborn to the end. You two are poisonous. Do you believe Port Charles needs you? The town would be cleaner without you." Sonny's response was barely above a whisper. "Port Charles doesn't need us. But it belongs to us." He looked away when Selena's men approached. Sidwell's dying screams were drowned out by the sound of the leaving jet engine. In the weeks that followed, tranquility returned on the surface. Selena resumed her business, but with tighter supervision and a renewed collaboration with Sonny. They didn't fully trust one another, but they understood each other better today. They had almost lost everything because to one unscrupulous foreigner. Michael, who had witnessed the entire incident unfold, noticed a transformation in his father. Sonny had always been vengeful, but this time he nearly let a lie overtake him. It made Michael wonder how far Sonny would go next time, and whether anybody could stop him when the truth wasn't so obvious. Jocelyn was apprehensive, especially now that Dex was drawn back into Sonny's world. She had hoped he would back away, but his desire for control and justice had drawn him closer to Sonny's code of silence. Even Dante felt the consequences of the outcome. Justice had not been served in his preferred manner, but the city was now safe for the time being. He couldn't get the notion that the next time someone tried to yank the strings, Sonny and Selena would not hesitate to do something worse. They had seen what betrayal might cost, and they were not going to let it happen again. So while Port Charles slept a little easier in the near term, behind the placid surface, deeper alliances and colder strategies were emerging. The distinction between comrade and enemy became increasingly blurred with each passing day. In this metropolis, power was not given. It was grabbed, and those who ventured to defy the rule were invariably buried beneath it. Sonny's pledge to exact revenge has been fulfilled. However, in its aftermath, something sinister had taken root. Not only wrath but insight. He now understood how far he could go, and who he could become when pushed to the limit. And Selena? She wasn't going to let herself be a pawn ever again. They had successfully eradicated a threat, but the fire they started was still burning. General Hospital spoilers are available for Thursday, July 3, 2025. Fans should expect the news of Natalia Ramirez's death to spread around Port Charles. Meanwhile, Michael Corinthos faces an unnerving confrontation with Willow Tate. Continue reading to learn more about what will happen in the next episode of ABC's soap opera. Willow Tate made a mistake. Willow appears to have made yet another terrible error with her children. The nurse has already lost custody of Wiley and Amelia Corinthos. While she intends to marry Drew Kane in an absurd attempt to reclaim her children, she simply cannot stay away from them. At the pool, Michael confronts Willow about Wiley. The nurse looks up and realizes she has been busted. She's glad Michael hasn't called the cops. Instead, he begs Willow not to make things any harder for Wiley. Natalia Ramirez's death spreads. Natalia will soon have an autopsy at the hospital. Meanwhile, Marco Rios is straining to understand the situation. Marco will need to speak with his sister, Allison Blaze Rogers. I am hoping that Natalia's death will bring Blaze back to PC. Brooklyn Quartermain announces that she has horrible news. Natalia worked at Deception, thus BLQ and Tracy Quartermain will need to issue some sort of press announcement. Tracy Quartermain's warning. According to General Hospital teasers, when BLQ delivers awful news, Tracy visits the pool to speak with Giovanni Gio Palmieri. The matriarch will warn him that his life is in jeopardy. When he asks who, I expect Tracy would say Sonny Corinthos. As a result, despite his desire to avoid his family, Gio may be forced to choose between them. Thursday, July 3, 2025. Fans will also witness Dante Falconeri and Jason Morgan having a heated confrontation. Emma Scorpio Drake wants Gio to discover the truth. Sonny questions Justine Turner's credibility. Trina Robinson warns Kai Taylor. Maxie Jones discovers a discovery. Also, Lulu Spencer quizzes Laura Collins about her next step. How much worse can things become when Sonny and Jen Sidwell's mob war heats up? Which narrative are you most looking forward to witnessing on Thursday, July 3, 2025? Share your opinions in the comments area below. Keep watching ABC soap operas to find out what happens next. Sonny had been on edge for days, and Justine's stubbornness to back down just added to the tension. It wasn't just her presence in Port Charles that bothered him. It was how close she was getting to Christina, how involved she was in the family's business, and how boldly she questioned his decisions. The woman had nerve, Sonny would admit. But now was not the time to be nervous. It was a time for loyalty, silence, and understanding your station. And Justine obviously didn't. Their most recent altercation in the back room of Pozzuolo's burst with the kind of rage Sonny saved for only the most intimate betrayals. Justine held her ground as usual, her voice calm yet firm. You are not untouchable, Sonny. Not anymore. People who used to be afraid of you are now asking questions, and you are giving them reason to be skeptical. Sonny's voice sliced through the room like a knife. I don't give a damn what others think about me. You? You don't get to stand there and discuss who I am. You are not family. I'm closer to family than you think, Justine responded. And if Christina is important to you, you'll start acting like it. She's trying to prove herself to you, but all you do is drive her away. Sonny's look was all fire. You don't know anything about my daughter. I know she is hurting. And I know you'd sooner face the demons of your past than show her any trust. It was a line Sonny could not ignore. He stormed out of the room, knowing that if he remained another minute, he'd say something worse, something he couldn't take back. But the harm had been done. Justine was not going anywhere, and her remarks had come too close to the reality. He was pushing Christina away, and part of him was unsure how to stop. Meanwhile, Michael had hit his limit. For weeks he'd watched Willow skirt around her doubts, hide her inquiries, and fake a grin whenever things became tight. But now he couldn't bear the silence. He discovered her in the garden behind the Courtemain mansion, her hands buried in dirt, her face too calm for the tempest she was suppressing. We need to talk, he stated softly but urgently. Willow looked up and brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. About what? You know what? You've been drifting away since the hearing. You do not trust me, do you? Willow did not respond at first. She stood, wiping her hands on her jeans and meeting his gaze. It is not about trust, Michael. It's all about honesty. About getting to know the person with whom I intend to create a life. Since Drew returned, everything has changed. That's not fair, Michael retorted. I told you everything I knew. No, you told me what you wanted me to believe. Her voice trembled with control. You knew Drew was playing a different game, but you allowed him draw you in. You believe that because you did not say the words, you did not choose a side. Michael's shoulders clenched. I did what I had to do to protect our family. And now our family is more divided than ever, Willow said. You are locking people out. You're returning to that place when winning is all that matters. It's not about winning, he said. It's about maintaining control. Because the second we lose that, people are hurt. Willow stepped back and shook her head. Then maybe we're already too far gone. The comments hit Michael harder than any charge. He didn't know how to contact her anymore. Everything he had done to protect her and provide a future for her and the children suddenly appeared to be a stumbling block. And worse, she no longer saw him as a collaborator but as a threat. Tracy Courtemain has been keeping a close eye on events across town. She was not the type to become involved in the family's everyday mess unless absolutely required. But the tension was high and it was beginning to harm business. More than that, she saw a storm approaching, and no one else appeared prepared. She cornered Brooke Lynn in the living room, who had just concluded a heated conversation with Chase. Her granddaughter appeared harried, barely holding it together as she struggled to balance her marriage, profession, and the instability in her family. "Let me give you a piece of advice," Tracy remarked without bothering with pleasantries. "Keep an eye on Michael. He is not thinking clearly." Brooke Lynn did not even flinch. "Do you think I don't know that? I think you're too busy cleaning up other people's messes to notice your own backyard's on fire," Tracy said with a laugh. "Michael is spiraling, and he's dragging you all with him." "Then help him," Brooke Lynn challenged. "You've got more influence than anyone." Tracy gave a sad smile. "My influence only extends so far. Michael is at battle with himself. And once that happens, there is no way to win." Elsewhere, Jason Morgan demonstrated over again that silence was his most potent weapon. Everyone wanted to know where Jason stood on Sunny, Michael, and Drew's schemes, but he didn't give any answers. He spent his days exercising, moving around town like a ghost, and only showing up when necessary. Carly had asked him for clarification several times, and he always gave her the same expression, the one who said, "I am still here. I am still watching. But I will not be your weapon." He wasn't prepared to choose a side. Not when everyone he cared about was going toward a precipice, heedless to the danger. Sunny was unraveling. Michael was whirling out. Drew had transformed into someone unrecognizable. And now Christina was being drawn into a conflict she didn't comprehend. Jason had been here before. He knew how these stories ended. However, remaining silent had consequences. People were starting to question his allegiance. Some speculated that he was waiting for the appropriate opportunity to resume his spot at Sunny's side. Others assumed he was working with Carly behind the scenes to bring Sunny down for good. The truth was that he no longer knew what he believed. All he knew was that his next move had to count. The atmosphere in Sunny's penthouse had gotten thicker. Dante had dropped by earlier with department updates, and while the conversation remained surface level, the tension was palpable. Sunny scarcely looked him in the eyes. Christina went in and out, each time more frustrated than the last. Donna, mercifully too little to understand, was the only thing keeping Sunny from absolutely losing it. That night, Justine returned uninvited. She discovered Sunny alone, a drink in his hand, his gaze lost in thought. She didn't say anything straight away, just watched him. "You should go," he mumbled. "You don't scare me, Sunny." "I should." Justine stepped forward. "Do you want to know why I keep coming back? It's because I still think there's something worth keeping in this family. And whether you like it or not, I'm a part of it now." Sunny gazed at her, exhausted. "You're playing with fire." "No. I'm putting it out," she explained. "One way or another." Their gazes were riveted and neither flinched. However, the conflict between them was about everything they represented, not just themselves. The old world and the new. Control and vulnerability. Fear and hope. At the same moment, Michael sat alone in his office, peering into his phone. He considered calling Willow, apologizing again, and explaining why he did what he did. But he knew nothing would change. Not now. Not after seeing into her eyes. Instead, he phoned Dex. "Is there any movement on Drew?" Dex's voice came through consistently. "He's being careful. But he has something planned. You can feel it." Michael nodded. "Stay with him. I need to know what he's up to before he makes his move." "And how about your mother?" Michael hesitated. "Leave Carly out of this for now. I'll deal with her when the time is right." He closed the conversation and relaxed back in his chair. The walls were closing in. Willow is going away. Drew circles like a vulture. Sunny is alienating his own blood. And Jason refuses to make a choice. Everything was unraveling. Tracy returned, this time with a private talk behind closed doors with Monica. "He's going to make a mistake," Tracy replied, pouring herself a drink. "And when he does, this entire family is going to feel it." Monica sighed. "We've survived worse." "Not like this," Tracy replied. "This time it's coming from inside." Jason was on the pier somewhere in Port Charles watching the sunset. The wind was brisk and the air seemed tight. He reflected on the commitments he'd made to Carly, Sunny, and the memories of the man he used to be. However, it was difficult to maintain promises when everyone else was breaking them. He took out his phone and gazed at the message he had typed but never sent. "I am still here. I keep an eye on everything. Say the word and I will move.